and just don't know where to start? Anyone? Yeah, someone back there for sure. So I look around, I've not seen a lot of costumes here, so this is good, so we can talk about that. Okay, so basically when you're building a costume, you have to start off with what's my favourite part is the blank page as it is here. So it's a blank page and you can basically make anything you like. That's what's so amazing with cosplay. So we're going to go back to 2014 here, where I had a very small space to build a costume and I had to go decide on what I was going to make. So the first costume that I was contemplating was this guy. Now, does anyone know who this is? Anyone know that costume?
Big Daddy!
Oh, Big Daddy, you know what, there you go. Oh, you won yourself a sweets, there you go, there you go. Fantastic. You saw it was Big Daddy, there you go. So, there we go. Sweets for those who get things right. Okay, so the Big Daddy is the first costume that I really wanted to do. He's from a computer game, BioShock. This version, does anyone know which version of Big Daddy this is? Anyone know what version? Oh, you won a sweet, look at that. Oh, yeah, there you go. Always the dark side, eh? So yeah, it's a bouncer edition. I wanted to make it. I love the idea of having a rotating arm piece. The big front on it, a big dome with lights in there. The bit on the back to counterbalance it, the cylinder. Funny enough, I've actually got one of those cylinders in the boot of my van, in the boot of my car right now. So that's how I do want to make it at some point. The other costume I was looking at was this guy. You know who he is?
Iron Man Mark 1.
Iron Man Mark 1. Oh, do you know what? There we go. There's a few. There's one over there. You got it right there. Who else said Iron Man? It's funny, all the hands are suddenly coming up, eh? There you go. So yeah, Iron Man Mark 1. The thing about this costume is it's my favourite of the Iron Man costumes. The fact that it's a very complex machine that he built out of Jericho missiles. I love it. The other ones are just glorified 3D printed suits. Tony Stark, Chris, he built it. This thing, wow. And back in 2014, the other costume I really wanted to do was this. Anyone know who they are?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that was loads of sweets and yeah, everyone knows a Ghostbuster. So I went to Ghostbusters, but back here in 2014 it was only me wanting to enter the masquerade. And you really kind of need more than one Ghostbuster. I mean, you never bust alone apparently. And if you see the Jersey Ghostbusters short film, The Ghostbuster, you learn why you should never bust alone. So, but back in 2014 was the first time I saw a proton pipe up close. There's many here, and they're very complicated small parts. So I was looking at it and I thought, well, what do I do something that's armoured? I do love the 80s. I wanted something cool, so what should I go for? That isn't as complicated as Iron Man. I decided to go for this guy. You know who he is?
Robocop.
Robocop, yeah, right. I should have brought two of these things of sweets. There you go. Robocop. So yeah, went for Robocop. So it was your move, creep. It was my turn to then go out there and build him. So the first thing you do when you're going to build a costume is Google. Go to Google. Google is a cheesy, is your friend. So Google Images is fantastic. You just go on there and search. And it's always good to look at the film references more than other people's costumes at this stage, because you want to see if you can build it like the one in the film. Because I was going for film authenticity, I wanted it to look the same. There's another place, now I don't know if anyone here has seen this. Has anyone heard of the RPF? No. Right, this is called the Replica Prop Forum. Now this place is a treasure trove of information for cosplayers. In here you've got people who have never built costume before, and then you've got people who are building suits and costumes for movies right now in here. So if you type in what costume you're looking for, you can actually look at all these different methods and try and find one that is good for you. So RPF, I'd recommend you check it out, it's very, very good. So once you've done your research and you've got your Google Images printed off, you've got to then decide on what materials you're going to use. Now, over my side over there, I've got a whole range of different materials you can use. You can start off with things like just good old paper and card. It's really good because you go down the pound shop, you can buy yourself some paper and card, or steal it from work, depending on where you are. And then what you can do is you can then find 3D models on the internet, or you can take them from games if you've got the know-how. And you can use something called Peppercooler. Peppercooler Viewer is a free bit of software you can get, where you drop 3D models in it, and you can take them apart. And the view is great, because you can take them apart, and you can print them off on paper. If you go for the designer, you can then edit the sizes and make it into something bigger. So in this case here, this Halo suit that I've got, that was all paper and card. And then what I did for the paper and card was I put fiberglass resin on the inside of it. The good thing about fiberglass resin is, if the helmet starts to warp or bend, you can heat it with a heat gun and bend it back. So it's really good. So fiberglass resin. With the Dead Space suit that I'm wearing, the helmet, there's got fiberglass sheets inside it to really make it strong. Then what you can do, if you want, you can then take something called warblers. Anyone used warbler before? If you've used warbler, oh, you deserve a few sweets. Hey. A warbler, hey, warbler, oh, look. There you go, hey, there you go. Warbler is a thermoplastic. It's a wood-based, non-toxic material that if you heat it up with a heat gun, it goes soft. When it cools down, it goes solid, and it goes really solid. This here, that's warbler. Warbler. There's all sorts of bits of warbler on here. So warbler's great. But for Robocop, I decided I wanted to go for a material that I'd used and found really interesting to use. It's this stuff. The EVA foam play mats. Now, who here uses Jersey e-cycle to give away stuff? Well, you might find my name a lot whenever these come up on e-cycle, I'm grabbing it. I store it up and then build my costumes out of it. You can literally heat it up, form it into shapes, and it stays in the shape. And then if you put warbler over it, you can make it solid. So it's very, 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 very good material. So here is the build. So when you build a costume, you're going to find that lots of things fail when you're doing it. So the idea is to try and, you will fall, things will go wrong, but just keep going at it. Good example, the helmet at the back there, the turquoise one. I measured my head. I did everything. I thought this is perfect. I went to put it on, it was too small. I'd forgotten that there's like a centimetre thick foam I was using. So when I wrapped it around, it made it 2 centimetres too small. There's no way it's going on. So then I had to make another one, which is the pink helmet. But this is when I learned something else. So I was going to keep the helmet as a demo thing to show people. Then this happened. They're cats. Look cute, don't they? That one eats foam. It loves it. So what I did was, that turquoise helmet got eaten by Amber the cat. So I learnt very quickly not to leave my costumes near animals, children, and heating, and many other things that will fall apart. So when you're building your costumes, especially like with Robocop's case, you must remember to label the costumes. Now, sometimes, especially when Spotify became very popular, sometimes you press play on your music and you go into your own little world and you start, now there I was drawing the pieces up, and that's that, and that's that, and oh, this is all really good. Then you have a moment where you look back and look at it and go, I have no idea what this is, at all. So you've got to basically label every single piece, label it so you know what it is when you start putting it together. So in this case, I used a mannequin to measure up. That's John the Mannequin. Now, if you work out why it's called John the Mannequin, I'll give you a whole tub of sweets. Basically, John the Mannequin, I built a Halo suit on him. Master Chief's real name is John. Yeah. Didn't know that, did you? So John the Mannequin, I built all the costume onto there. You've got to remember as well when you're using a mannequin that the mannequin's body isn't quite the same as yours. Yeah, I'm just not quite as good as John. But when you build it on, it's really good to see how things are. And another very important thing when you're building that costume is to try the costume on before you paint and spray it up. I've heard so many horror stories where people they built their suits, then they've spray painted them up, and they've looked like something out of a movie, you know, and they've stood there and gone, that is good. And then they've tried to get into it, and they've gone, oh, hang on, this doesn't work. So then they've got to cut it up and tear it open, and then you never get the paint job the same again. But funny enough, there you go. Yeah. Funny enough, that picture there of me wearing that suit, that was 1 week before Comic-Con. So this is 1 week, I'd already entered the masquerade, and this is what it was looking like. So next thing with EVA foam, in particular, is you've got to paint it up. With EVA foam, it's foam, so it's stretchy and bendy. Now, over in Jersey, it's very hard to get hold of it, but this thing called Plasti Dip. Have you ever used Plasti Dip before? Yeah. It's like a spray paint with a rubber spray paint. You can spray your costumes in it, and then you can spray on top of it. It's very, very cool. If you can't get hold of Plasti Dip, because it's very hard, the one that most people use is the white school glue, the PVA glue. You've all used that before, maybe when you're 6, but what you do is you take that white glue, you take water, 50-50, mix it together, and then you use like a good sort of 3 to 4 layers. So you paint it on your foam, let it dry, paint it again. But before you do that, remember with EVA foam you must always use a heat gun on every piece of the foam. And that seals up the pores in the foam so your paint doesn't disappear inside it. But that's one thing that does happen a lot, is they build these costumes, then when it comes to painting them, they don't look right because the paint's absorbed into it. In this case I used, do you know when you're putting a roof on a house, you've got the rubber paint? Yeah. So I rubber painted the suit, which made it flexible, and sanded it with a very light sandpaper to get rid of any bobbles. So it's very, very cool. Very cool. And then it was time to spray it. It looks more like a strange scene from Hellraiser. All the pieces hanging from chains in a room, and then I sprayed it in a silver. And it's called Ford T8 Standard is what I used because I wanted to do Robocop from the first film. When you do your references, you'll realise that he actually becomes more blue during the film. So Robocop 2 and 3, he's very blue. Robocop 1, he's very silver. In the film, you'll notice he looks a bit purpley at times. That was actually a byproduct of the way the film was processed back then, when they filmed it on film. So, there you go, I was trying the costume on, so I was thinking, yeah, he's looking good. But no one had seen him. So what I did is I threw him into good old Photoshop, got rid of Peter Weller, didn't need him, I'm better, there I am. And then it's time to basically sort of hit social media and start sort of spreading your costume so people can see it, and then maybe get a few people to come to see you when you do your performance. So what I do is I use Facebook. Now, what I'd highly recommend is another thing that a lot of people have seen do, which is silly. You should always make a page, a Facebook page. Don't use your Facebook that you own as for your family, because I'm not saying you're all weird, but if you put all your costumes on your family page, you find that you do get some strange rangers cruising through your pictures, and it's not good. Make a page. In my case, I called mine Dax79 Cosplay. So if you pop there, you can see all my builds. What I do is I keep a record of everything there. I also use YouTube, which is Dax79, and I put videos of when I'm building my costumes to hopefully help somebody else build their costume. So that's a good thing to do when you're doing the process, if you want to help other people. And then what you've got to do is you've got to have your performance. So when you go on stage, do a performance, there's 2 different types really. There's one where you just walk on, and you stand, and then you walk over here, and you stand. But you do a pose from the film, but again, and then you stand in the centre, it's a walk on. But then you've got a performance piece, which you'll come on and do the performance. They're usually about 1 to 2 minutes long. So what you do is, I like to take a film, so I take a digital copy of a movie and drop it into, I use Premiere. So you drop that film in there, it separates the audio tracks. So you've got a centre channel, a left and a right and a rear. So you can strip it down to take out the parts you want, like this bit here. This is where Robocop says, "Dead or alive, you're coming with me." Oh no, yeah, Dead or Alive, Become a Me, that's that scene there. So I took out his speech, and then I moved it into another timeline, and then in that timeline I would put everything I wanted, so footsteps. So here you've got a bit of music, you've got some footsteps here, so that's him walking, that's him speaking, and that's his Robocop hum, so he's humming all the time. So you put that together and make an audio piece, and when you're doing that you also put together a little speech, a little something for the person that, when you go onto stage, a little something to say who you are and what the costume is. What I would recommend as well, if you're doing this, is to put a piece of music at the beginning of your performance, because you never know if you're going to be able to get onto stage, you never know if a curtain is going to catch on your costume, that sort of thing. So put a bit of music at the beginning, just means that you can actually get on stage before, because you don't want to be hearing it starting off and then you're still trying to get up the steps. They do that a lot, I've noticed. They put steps at Comic-Cons, which I don't understand. You'd think a slope. I mean, have you seen the size of that guy over there? Yeah, I'd like to see him get on stage. So then, once you've got your performance piece done, and you've got your costume done, and you've spread it on social media, next thing is you're off to Comic-Con. You're off to have fun. Now, when you're there, you're going to have lots of people wanting to get photos with you. And what I'd say as well, when you're in your costumes, some costumes are quite scary, like this Joker here. A lot of kids are scared of him, and there's some costumes from horror films and stuff which are a little much. So I'd always recommend that when you're with the kids, sort of give them a high five, sort of a hello, sort of say, hey, I'm not bad, I'm a good guy, because some of them will be petrified. And once you've done that, in this case, it's called Robocop. I put this costume on at about 8 in the morning, and the masquerade was at 4 at night, 4 p.m, 5 p.m, and I couldn't get in and out of this costume. So I had to drink enough water to sweat, but not enough to need the toilet. It was a very strange, long day for this one. Also, the thing about Robocop was, in his pictures, he was stood, he looked cool. But because I covered it in lacquer to give it a shine, when I walked, he squeaked a lot. And when he was squeaking, I had people, hey, Robo, you need some WD-40. So people, he got mocked for his squeaks, but he was a fun costume to wear. Then it was time to get up on stage. So I'm going to show the performance piece that I did for this 2014 Comic-Con. The thing is, I was wearing a helmet, the foam helmet, which was packed against my ears. I couldn't hear much. So I had to basically, I knew that the second the music started, there's the first footstep. The first footstep was, right, I'm going. And I stop, and then I've got to listen for a footstep, and then move. I'm listening for these footsteps. The Excel Center was closing at the time, and their tannoy kept going off. So during it, I lost my footing, things went going wrong. In my head, I thought, this is going really wrong. But it did go quite well, and everyone really, really enjoyed it. So here he is. Here we've got no sound, I don't think.
It is the future!
Can you hear that?
Well, 1987. It's Republic Trust, Dax79 as the original Robocop.
So that's the piece, you write that. It's a little something, and someone liked the costume. So this was shown live on the internet around the world.